Welcome to another edition of I Am AAPC. Today I have with me Vanessa Bontempi. Vanessa, how are you?
I'm doing great, Alex. How about you?
I am wonderful, thank you. Vanessa, would you tell us your story, your background professionally, and what led you into this path?
My background is kind of diverse. I started off in working with autistic children. I then moved into more administrative tasks, but it always stayed kind of in the healthcare perimeter. And then I moved on to being like an executive assistant in hospitals. I also worked for an EMR software company in their marketing department. But once we had a family, it just made more sense for me to stay home. We had 4 kids in 5.5 years. And so for 16 years, I have been a stay-at-home mom. Once the quarantine hit, I decided that, you know what, my kids are getting older. Right now, my oldest is a senior in high school. My youngest just went to 6th grade. So I decided that I was ready to get back to the workforce and looked around and wanted to use my background, wanted to see if I could work remotely and talked to a lot of people. And I did a lot of research and started looking into coding and billing. Then was directed to the AAPC website and started to look through there and decide how you wanted to get certified and what kind of prospects there were for jobs.
Tell us about training and how did you prepare for the AAPC exam? What did you go to community college or did you use AAPC's curriculum?
I researched that thoroughly because there's a lot of different certification programs out there. Lots of them are online. There are some in colleges. One of the local colleges, you had to get a certificate or a degree in a medical assistant first before they would even let you apply to the coding program. So that would have been more than 2 years and $20,000, which I didn't have the time nor the money for at that point. So, and also a lot of people wanted, the CPC. So it made much more sense to come to you guys and go through your training. And man, I could not have made a better choice because I decided to do the online video class. And my teacher was Jean Pryor, and she was fantastic. She always answered questions really quick. Our classes were exactly geared toward what you would need to know. And I felt completely prepared going into the exam.
How much time would you say you spent on your preparation leading up to your exam? Like, did you set aside time every night for an hour, or how did you create a structure for your training, Vanessa?
I liked having the regiment of a weekly class to keep me on schedule. For me, that's very helpful to have an external schedule. And so, yeah, I would devote, 4 or 5 hours a week. Sometimes get up early in the morning or stay up late at night. Take stuff with me in the car when I was running kids around to study there.
And it sounds like you had very little healthcare experience as far as knowing anatomy and medical terminology. Did you
Actually,
have to
that's
take
not
those?
true. No, I didn't. I would recommend, if you don't have extensive background in medical terminology, to definitely take their class, because I know a lot of the other people in my class struggled with that, hadn't. I'm kind of a science geek, so I've always loved biology and those things. And so I did have an extensive knowledge of systems, and it carried me through. There was a couple times where I was like, ooh, need to go back. I did get a book on it to go back and refresh my memory, but I wish I had in some instances, especially for cardiology. That would have been really helpful to go get a refresher.
Okay. I'm going to back up just a little bit. So as you were pursuing different career avenues, what resonated with you about medical coding and billing?
It allows me to take my healthcare background, my interest in science and medicine, and put it to work in a way that allows me to be with my family. And that's predominantly it. I mean, it offers a lot of flexibility, but it's very challenging. You are forever learning new things, which for me is very important in the job. If I will get bored if I don't get a chance to grow and learn and do new things. And getting my certification through the AAPC has allowed me that opportunity. I've worked for a wonderful company that has endless ways to grow and learn, and they support us wonderfully.
Okay, we're going to jump around a little bit, but your response there leads me to ask you, are you working remote?
Yes, I am. That my job offer was 100% remote. And they were, one of the things that they asked me was, they were kind of wary of, somebody who hadn't worked in a long time bringing me in, and they were like, well, do you have any experience, this kind of stuff? And I was like, well, I had all my training via video, and I was like, I kept, I had almost an A+ in the class, and, was kept up with all the material. So yeah, I'm, can definitely do this. Not to mention I was a stay-at-home mom during COVID. So we had crisis distance learning with lots of children. So.
Okay. So your first job from after completing your CPC exam was a remote position that you still currently hold?
Yes.
Okay. And how long have you been with them for?
10 months. It'll be a year in October.
Okay.
So they took me with the CPC-A.
Yes. Okay. And I'd imagine you're probably very close to having that off, the A.
Yes.
If not having it off.
Yeah, in the next 2 months.
Okay. Wow. So you're living the dream, Vanessa, that many of our students aspire to as far as seeking employment that offers flexibility to be at home. What advice would you give to someone who wants to follow your path?
I will take the video courses. Again, it will keep you on track. They set up community groups for you to talk to your classmates so you can study together and ask questions in real time. If you don't have a big background in medical terminology, definitely take anatomy and physiology first. Don't give up. There's some of the units are pretty easy, and some of them, will kick your backside. But keep pushing through. It's worth it. Get your resume professionally done afterwards, because that makes a big difference too. And just talk to a lot of people, network, join the AAPC groups within your area, those kind of things. That's what all helped me get a job.
Well, how, and I think you alluded to this or spoke to this just a little bit, but I'm going to ask again, how or what advice would you give to a recently certified member who has not worked in the industry? How do you convince an employer to take a chance on you? How did you convince them to take a chance on you, Vanessa? CPC-A, no real world work experience at the time.
I met online somebody through the AAPC Facebook page, and it was right after my certification, and my score was pretty good, and she reached out to me and said, hey, we're hiring, they'll, with that kind of score, they'll take a look at you, even though you're a, CPC-A and you just came out of certification. So that's how I got my foot in the door. Now I did get other interviews. This wasn't the only position I interviewed for. I probably had 10 or 15 other interviews. I had one other offer. But I pulled out people that I used to work with. If they had any healthcare field connections, asked them. Again, networking through the AAPC's websites and local affiliates.
Okay. Vanessa, I have to say you carry yourself very professionally and are very well spoken. So I would say soft skills, non-coding type skills are a strength of yours as well. Could you speak to that about being a professional, exuding that professional confidence that you carry?
Oh, thank you, Alex. Yes, it's being able to sell yourself. I will say for me, some of that has come with maturity. But I went online, I went on YouTube and looked up videos about presenting yourself. And there are some of the YouTubers that are CPC and put videos about, here is, how you answer questions. If they talk about something that you haven't coded before, how you answer, those kind of things. So watching the videos online of other coders' experiences and, people that just had really good advice to know the company you're working for, that you're interested in working for, the kind of skills you bring to the table. What are they looking for? Okay. And know your worth, be proud of what you've done. And I guess one thing that's really helped me is I look at this as though I'm interviewing them as much as they're interviewing me. At this point, I was like, I don't want to work. I'm not just trying to get an offer. I want to see if this is a good fit. Do I have what they need? But also, do they have what I need? Do they have the flexibility? What are their benefits? What is the team like that I'm going to be working with? Those kind of things. And, where can I go from here? Is there advancement opportunities? And this company definitely always tries to hire from within.
That definitely puts you in a different mindset, as that maybe you didn't come off like you're desperately seeking employment, but you had expectations from your potential employers as well.
Yeah, they always like when you have questions, when it becomes more of a discourse and a dialogue rather than just them asking you questions and you trying to give very scripted answers. It helps a lot if you can go in there with, ways in which your skills will match what they need. Look at the job description, find out, if they're looking for communication skills, well, what have you done in your previous jobs that demonstrate that? Actionable skills, especially for your resume, those kind of things. Even if you've been out of the workforce for a long time, a lot of the sites talked about using a more functional resume as opposed to a timeline.
Okay. All right. Now we've spoken a lot about your current career, your current position, and how you got there. I love it, and I think that's going to inspire many. It sounds like from what you said previously that you passed on your first try. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned that someone reached out to you because on the Facebook group. Did you post in the Facebook group? Because we see this often, like everybody's excited to get their scores.
Yes.
And when you pass, you share a little screenshot showing your score. Did you do that?
Yes, I did.
And is that the post that someone reached out to you on?
Yes, it is.
Okay. So I think this is fascinating, and I'm not surprised that this is happening, but it's interesting to hear this confirmed that you posted your excellent exam score. Someone from the group, I'm assuming who you hadn't met before.
Correct.
They reached out to you to say, hey, we have positions open. You might want to give it a try.
Absolutely. Yeah. She was like, here, please use my name. Here's the position to apply for. And that's how it got started. And once it did, it was pretty quick, actually.
I feel like your story is just an awesome example, Vanessa, and we have never met. And
Nope.
this is all your true story. I did not put you up to this or anything. I mean, this is who you are, and this is the experiences you've had.
Yes, absolutely. I've been very blessed, and I tried to take advantage of the opportunities I had, so that I could be where I wanted to be with having the flexibility to work from home and do a job I love, and have the possibility to learn for it. In fact, when they had AAPC had the sale for classes recently, I signed up and got for the CPC-A. So I'm starting to work on that.
Wow. So you see a path for you beyond coding.
Yeah, I enjoy coding, but I like the fact, for me, it's like getting paid to like work puzzles. You're trying to figure out where exactly and make sure everything fits. And I really like the idea of doing the auditing of the charts and going back in and looking at rejections, and trying to fix the things that they need and make sure everything's in line. I find that enjoyable. It's like solving puzzles to me.
Wow. So you took AAPC's instructor-led curriculum where you met with a class once a week online. And I think there are usually office hours with the instructor that you could participate in once a week.
Yes.
Okay. And that helped you prepare for the exam. Are there things, after you took the exam, were there things that you look back on and thought, oh, I wish I would have done this or that? I mean, it sounds like you're well prepared, but are there maybe tips even that you could give to those preparing for the exam?
Going into it at the very beginning, make sure you get into Blackboard and all the sites and know your way around. know
For
what's
the course.
available for the course, know
Yes.
your way around, because there was a lot of people that had a lot of questions, and I think that slowed them down going in. And I'm just naturally really curious, so I wanted to know how everything worked.
Yeah.
And it enabled me to find all the little pieces of things that would help you. Some of the answer keys, because sometimes, I've always, one of my themes in life is, you don't always have to know the answer, but you need to know how to find the answer. And so, knowing what your resources are through there, because there's a lot of career counseling on the AAP site when you sign up for it. You can still get that, and they give you questionnaires and things like that.
Okay. Yeah. And for those watching, we do have a mentorship program that connects you with seasoned professionals or wherever you're at in your career to make those connections with you to help you get to where you want to. It sounds like you're making those relationships in the AAPC Facebook group, though, Vanessa.
I did, for the most part. I did reach out to friends and family of mine and ask, hey, is anybody in this field that you know of? Can I talk to them? And one of my neighbors, in fact, one of her sister-in-law works at one of the large hospitals around here as a coder, as a senior coder. So I got a chance to talk to her about what day-to-day was, how, what her career was like. Excuse
me. So knowing the curriculum, knowing how your class will operate, it sounds like it's so important, and you really dug into that before the course even officially took off. Any specific tips for exam prep? Because I know as you get closer to the exam, you're trying to recall some of those things that you might have learned earlier, make sure your books are tabbed and marked.
Guidelines, know your guidelines.
Okay.
That, for me, guidelines were paramount, because if you know the guidelines on probably more than half the questions, you can eliminate 2 answers if you know the guidelines really well. Don't highlight all of the guidelines. Usually those, the very beginnings of them are. And ask your instructor, ask other people, what areas are, the most important to know.
Okay. All right. That's very helpful. So you've been working in the field for a year and a half, you say? Is that right?
No, almost a year.
Almost a year.
Almost a year.
Okay. All right. And what has led you to consider the CPMA exam?
Again, just a desire to learn some more about where we can go from here with it. As I said, I like coding, but I like the idea of being able to learn some more and maybe do the auditing and rejections. Just it sounds even more interesting to me.
Okay. And tell me about some of the roles that maybe you interact with in your daily job, and that maybe has given you insight that you didn't expect. And that could be maybe even education or management, as you observed.
Because they don't micromanage here. So, you have the facilities that you code, and you code those, and we work in teams. And sometimes if there's an influx and somebody needs help, we'll go on somebody else's site and help them. But, primarily you're on your own. You're left to your own devices, and, you have seniors that you can go ask questions of. But there's a rigorous training process through the company I'm with that, you can then go back and ask them questions, and I guess you get mentors through them. And that's been very helpful to see, what they've learned, how they progressed. That's helped a lot.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, you've had quite a lot of changes in your life with this new career.
Definitely.
And you did this all through kind of a crazy time in the world, as we've been through the pandemic and coming out on the other side of that. But you trained and found your job during that time.
Yeah, I started right during the pandemic, and then, right as we came out was when I started looking.
Okay. And have you been able to be active with your local chapter? I don't know if your local chapter has regular meetings or not.
They're just starting with in-person meetings now again, and I have not, because with 4 kids, 3 are teenagers and running around, so I don't have a lot of spare time in the evenings, unfortunately. But sometimes I can join them virtually.
Okay. All right. Well, with that, I'm kind of curious, what's a day like for you? And I mean, I guess you wake up, you get the kids going, and then you
Actually,
hit your
no.
computer.
My schedule, I decided to work it. I start work at 6 a.m. and work till 2:30 with a
Okay.
half-hour break for lunch. My husband gets the kids off, but I mean, my older three can get themselves off. The sixth grader needs a little bit of help, but not too much. So thankfully, they're of that age where that's possible for me. Then after 2:30, I can, go do all the regular mom things.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. You can be there
It
for them
is the
after school.
flexibility, yes,
Yeah.
the flexibility of being able to, I mean, you have to have a set schedule. But you can flex your hours if you need to sometimes and say some days, there's just a day you can't work, but you could do Saturday instead. So they're amenable to that.
And are your goals each day to have X amount of records coded?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And do you feel like that's stressful, or is it as difficult as you thought it'd be, or just manageable?
It's challenging to make sure you get the quality numbers that you need to meet in addition to the actual chart numbers you need. But I will say it is a slow progression of what they expect, and I feel that they're very realistic about that, of what they want you to do, and they offer, all the time they will offer, do you need more training? Is there something that you need some clarification on? And so I've never felt bad or upset about going and saying, hey, could you clarify this policy, or in this unusual situation, how should I handle this? And they've always been wonderful about it. I've never had been made to feel like, well, why don't you know that, or it's here. They're no like, hey, great, thank you for asking. We love to clarify and make sure that everybody has the information and support they need.
Okay. They don't expect you to be perfect out of the gate. They know your
No,
potential.
definitely not. Definitely not. They come in, and as I said, the training was very extensive. And I would say that's another thing that you definitely need to ask in the interview process. Ask some in-depth questions about, is it paid training? How long is it? When will you be expected to be completely on your own? Are they okay with you asking questions? Those kind of things.
Okay, it sounds like a great place to be and start your career.
Yeah, it's, as you said, living the dream. I'm very lucky.
Awesome. Well, Vanessa, I know you're busy with your kids, and as soon as you're through with work, I'm sure you're running around, shuttling kids here and there, and making sure the house is in running order. And I know that's a partnership for you and your husband to do
Yes,
that.
definitely.
But with that, what kind of things do you like to do outside of your new career and your family?
Oh, now that the kids are older, I mean, I've got more time to go see my own friends. My girls dance, and so we do dance competitions. My eldest is in marching band, so we get to go and hear a lot of great music. And now that COVID, we're actually getting out and get to see people again. So for me, it's just that. It's getting together with friends I haven't got to see in a long time.
Awesome. Awesome. Vanessa, where are you located? I don't think we ever talked about that.
Just outside Atlanta, Georgia, in Powder Springs.
Okay. All right. So right now you're probably coming off the summer heat wave.
You know what? This has been one of the coolest summers in like 10 years here.
Wow.
I think you can count on one hand the number of times it's been over 90.
Wow. Wow. Well, that sounds great.
Yeah, it's been really nice. But definitely looking forward to fall.
Yes. Yes. Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for sharing your story.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, you bet. And for those watching, you can listen to Vanessa share her story and many other AAPC interviews on the AAPC podcast. Find that by visiting the AAPC podcast on your favorite podcast app. And you can listen to Vanessa as you are running errands or as you're preparing dinner, whatever you're doing. You can be inspired by stories such as Vanessa's. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.